want to focus on the UI a bit. But before we start writing CSS, let's get things set up and ready to go. So I'll switch back to Sublime, and in my Resources Views directory, we already have a layout file. This came courtesy of PHP Artisan make auth. But you'll notice the project pages, we were just doing full HTML blocks there. We knew we were going to switch over, and now's the time to do that. So that means if I go to birdboard.test, here's the splash page for whatever your web app is. And if I go to projects, I have to sign in. Anyways, here's what we see. So I want to start by migrating over to the layout file. It's layouts.app, so we'll begin with the dashboard, extends layouts.app. And if I switch back, we should have a section, we're yielding content within this main element here. So we can take all of this and put it within a section called content. Okay, now let's switch back and give it a refresh. There we go. But I do need to center this. So within here, let's go back down, and I think we have a container element. There we go. Just a little bit cleaner, and we now have our nav dashboard available. Let's go to a specific project, and we have to do the same thing there as well. So let's steal some of this, switch over to show, paste it in, and close it out. All right, refresh. There we go. Next, we need one to create a project. And notice I'm having to manually visit these links. We'll update the navigation area soon. So we'll go to create. Now this is going to look worse temporarily because we're getting rid of Bulma. Okay, let's take a look at that. So if I give it a refresh, the form should reset, but that's okay. Next, you'll see we have some leftover padding that I added here. That's why I did it inline. I knew I would delete it pretty quick. Refresh. Next, it looks like it's still indented. Oh, yep, container. We already have a container, so we don't need a parent container with a child container as well. So get rid of that, and there we go. Okay, so now we have all of our projects. We can view a project. It's starting to look like a crappy little CRUD app. While we are here, we should have a cancel link. So down here, let's add another one that will simply go back to the projects page. There we go. Next, on the main dashboard page, just very quickly to give ourselves some links, we'll add a link to create a new project. And then later, we can make this Flexbox. And in fact, let's just do it inline. And then once I pull in Tailwind, we can add the necessary class. So style display is flex. Okay, so now we should have left to right. And then I will say align items to the center. There we go. And then finally, on the H1, I'll set the margin right to auto, and that will use up as much space as possible. Okay, and then later we're going to switch these over to utility classes. All right, so we have our dashboard. We can create a new project. We can cancel. We can view an existing project. And then here, once again, we need to have a go back link. So this is all pretty bare bones. Okay. Next, I want to take a look at our layout file. So again, this is some of the boilerplate that we get with Laravel. Let's update a few things. For example, config app name, it's going to go in here, and it's going to read from an environment variable called app_name. So if we take a look at that, we'll just say birdboard. Next, let's go back. What else? So we're pulling in our scripts here, asset.js/app.js. So that is pulling from a compiled file from when we installed Laravel. So we have that one as well as the style sheet. Now we'll see the original files within our resources directory. So the original app file that we would work with starts here, and the original Sass that we're working with begins here. So we can compile those down using Webpack and the Laravel Mix wrapper. So if I want to compile this just for the uninitiated, you'll see in the package.json file, we have these predefined scripts for you. So if we were to say npm run dev, it's all going to fail here. Cross-environment command not found. And this is because we haven't yet installed our development dependencies. We can do that using yarn if you have that, or more likely you have npm. So we'll say npm install our dependencies. And we'll give that about a minute. There we go. All right, let's give it another shot, and you'll see, we have to pull in one additional dependency. There we go. And we're all set. So it compiled these down to the public directory. And once again, that is what we are referencing within our layout file, here and here. Now, last thing, I like to use a utility framework called Tailwind. So I want to go ahead and pull that in. Let's go to the documentation real quick. This one here. And I want to pull it through NPM. So we will grab that. Next, we need to, once it's been pulled in, we need to initialize Tailwind, and it'll create a configuration file. And that way we can control all of our spacing and our sizes and our colors. Let's switch back. We will initialize it. And if you want to give it a different name than the default, you can set it here. Okay, so we'll now find a tailwind.js file within our project root. Next, if I switch back to Safari, we do have to pull in some various things here. So what I will often do is just grab all of this, copy it, and then switch over to my main app file and paste it in. Now, I plan on deleting just about all of this, but I'm going to keep it in there a little bit longer, just so we can migrate everything over without the UI completely breaking. Now though, if I were to compile this down, it's going to blow up. You'll see we get CSS errors. And that's because we're using these little Tailwind directives, but PostCSS doesn't even know what that is. So I actually have a little package here, npm install Laravel mix Tailwind. And this allows for mix support. And you know what? I made it and I don't even know how to use it. So let's take a look real quick. We pull it in. All right, then we require it, and then we can call a method Tailwind. And that should be everything we need to do. So let's go back to our webpack.mix.js file, fix this constant, of course. And then finally, I can say I do want Tailwind support. So that will add the necessary PostCSS plugin and configuration to make all of this work. Let's now give it another run. npm run dev, and it all compiled correctly. Okay, so now if I were to come back and give this a refresh, we still have the general styling as before, but we can now use Tailwind anywhere. So for example, if I were to switch over to our index page, here we were using inline flexbox. So let's remove that. It now falls below. And I can say here that I want it to flex and have the items centered. Switch back, and there we go. Next, here, I could change this to a class of MR auto, margin right auto, and we'll still get the same thing. And then finally, if you want to have some margin bottom of like 4, maybe 3, something like that, you get the basic idea. So now I can begin using CSS utilities to quickly design our site. And actually here, birdboard, we obviously don't need that. But anyways, we'll keep chipping away at this in the next episode.